Hey everybody, HomeSliceHenry here, and buckle your seatbelts because today's video is going to be a wild one. In today's video, we're taking a look at a team featuring Shadow Shiny Charizard, Shadow Shiny Sableye, and a perfect IV level 51 Shadow Alolan Geodude. Now these battles were submitted to the channel by a member of the community, Point God, so many thanks for the battle submission. Now it goes without saying, should you run this team if you're looking to hit Legend? Absolutely not. But this trainer at Legend ELO above 3000 MMR was able to put on an absolute show. So without further ado, let's hop into the matches. And in game number 1, he picks up a truly terrible lead, leading Shadow Charizard into Licky Licky. Instant save switch out of the matchup, sending in the Shadow Shiny Sableye. Sableye not going to fire off that Drain Punch just yet, instead just going to look to put up the shield, and then look to boost up its damage. Unfortunately, the opponent did go for the double resisted Body Slam bait. The opponent, recognizing that Sableye's now always run Drain Punch, which means they're always going to look to try and shield the first charge attack, so it's a pretty free bait for the opponent. Bad news for the opponent, however, they end up playing to a CMP tie that they do not win, and that's going to allow Sableye to get double boosted. Opponent now pivots out in a Talonflame. In comes the Geodude, and Geodude is shredding through Talonflame with Volt Switches. Have to imagine Shadow Alolan Geodude is not tanky, so even though it does resist Flame Charge, the shield will come up. Geodude just fails to farm down. That is very unfortunate. That's going to force Geodude to unleash Rock Slide. Rock Slide will take the knockout. Back in comes Licky Licky. Geodude already at Rock Slide number 2. Is the opponent finally willing to use a shield? No, they are not. They're saving all shields for the Poliwrath that they have in the back. It's a counter Poliwrath, which means it is going to have very bad pacing, and its fast moves are really not going to do a lot into this entire team. Oh my goodness, what a play. Bringing in the Charizard, getting the wing attacks, catching the Icy Wind onto the Sableye. Sableye desperately racing to the Drain Punch, unable to get there, and the game comes down to this. Can Shadow Shiny Charizard survive an Icy Wind? The Charizard doesn't have the greatest IVs, but Icy Wind will not take the knockout. Charizard gets the farm down, and the opponent loses the game with both Protect Shields intact. We move to game number 2, picking up a pretty decent lead, Shadow Shiny Charizard into Feraligatr. Now on paper, Feraligatr has the typing advantage, but Charizard has the pacing advantage. So Charizard is always able to make 3 air cutters before Feraligatr makes 3 hydro cannons, meaning that Charizard will always win the 2s. Charizard overfarms massively, gonna go for the air cutter bait. Opponent calls the bait. Charizard does get the boost, but this is now a CMP tie. The opponent wants, they can shield the air cutter and get the final shield back from the Charizard. However, a boosted Charizard is usually a pretty good Pokemon to have around. There's a switch by the opponent. They send in Shadow Primeape. Primeape getting melted by the wing attacks, but Primeape is going to win charge attack priority and unfortunately deny Charizard's energy. This Primeape is now boosted. In comes the Sableye. Sableye farming up. There's a catch onto the Geodude. This should only be the Rage Fist. Rage Fist not going to do much. No, it's a close combat. The opponent read the catch. That is absolutely disastrous. In the back is Aegislash, and unfortunately this game is over. The opponent threw a close combat at the Ghost-type Sableye, predicting the catch. What an incredible play from the opponent. And that's going to win them the game as Aegislash barely outpaces the Sableye, switches into the Blade form, picks up the one-hit knockout with the Shadow Ball. What a roller coaster of a game number 2. We move to game number 3, Shadow Charizard into Shadow Sableye. Charizard is going to take massive damage from these Shadow Claws, and Sableye can pretty effectively bait here with the Drain Punch. Shield comes up from Charizard. There's the Drain Punch from Sableye, and that is not what Charizard was hoping to see. Charizard will overfarm massively, doubling down with the bait. Back-to-back games, opponents calling the bait, and that is very unfortunate for Charizard. Charizard wins charge attack priority. Air Cutter will take the knockout. No boost from Charizard. In comes Dunsparce. Dunsparce trying to get the farm down, but unable to get it before Charizard is able to make the Air Cutter. Air Cutter really not going to do much, but all damage will be helpful because Dunsparce is a very bad Pokemon for this entire team to see. Charizard gets shredded by it. The Geodude would get one-shot by a Drill Run, and Sableye's not a big fan either. Sableye's going to boost his defense up with Drain Punch, hoping it can survive the Drill Run. There's the Pipit out. In the back is Shadow Celio. The Volt Switches are shredding. Celio going to build up. No shield. Point God calling the bait. He gets it right. It's the Body Slam, and that is an absolutely massive call from Point God. All was lost if the Body Slam was shielded, but he calls the bait, and he might be right back in this game. Point God, thinking about calling another one. He's going to be no shielding. It's another Body Slam. Geodude gets the farm down, 1 HP at a dream, but the Rock Slide is loaded. The shield is still intact. Rock Slide gets the shield. In comes Sableye. I don't know how this game ended in a win. All looked lost, but back-to-back savage bait calls get him right back in the game, and he's able to steal a win. We move to game number 4, Shadow Charizard into Togekiss. This matchup is always a bit uncomfortable for the Charizard just because the Pecks do so much damage. Charizard just gonna go straight for the Air Cutter. Opponent knows this cannot be a Blast Burn. Highly likely they will end up letting it go. But that is really good damage onto the Togekiss. Charizard will put up the shield. Charizard can't quite get the farm down here, but we could see a potential catch onto the Sableye. Oh, what a play. He gets the catch. This Psyshock is going to be double resisted onto the Sableye, and that does basically no damage. In comes Primeape. Primeape going to ramp up its attack instantly with the Rage Fist, but this is not the Shadow Primeape. It's not nearly as threatening. Rage Fist lands. Sableye tanks it very comfortably, and Sableye is going to boost its defense back up with Drain Punch. So now the opponent's attack is boosted, this Sableye's defense is boosted, and that means that the Primeape is unable to get the Karate Chop down. Instead, Primeape has the CMP tie Rage Fist to the Drain Punch. There's still a bunch of energy stored on the Charizard, so Charizard is going to fire off the Air Cutter here. Air Cutter does get shielded by the Primeape. Primeape trying to go shields down, but do you really want to go shields down when your final Pokemon is a Shadow Alolan Geodude? Looks like the answer is yes. Charizard is so low. In comes Togekiss. That gets farmed out as well. In the back is another Poliwrath, and this boosted Air Cutter is going to be deadly. No Protect Shields remaining. Air Cutter connects. There's the pivot. In comes Geodude. Geodude gets the full switch down, and Geodude knocks out a fighting type to get the win. Man, it is National Sableye Day apparently. Shadow Charizard into Shadow Sableye. Charizard gonna look to overfarm. Highly likely the Sableye just goes for the Drain Punch here. Charizard's calling the bait. No, it's the foul play. Oh, that is absolutely tragic. I was so sure that that was going to be the Drain Punch. Oh, that is so heartbreaking. The moment you shield it, it's the Drain Punch. The moment you let it go, it's the foul play. Even if the no shield didn't work out, honestly, I still quite like the play. Just trying to get aggressive and punish the opponent going for the obvious Drain Punch. Unfortunately, it didn't end up working out this time, and now Geodude is going to have to pull off miracles. Geodude launches Rock Tomb at the Sableye. Sableye going to fire off energy. Now Sableye is going to be going for the Drain Punch, and this is going to be a very big problem. No, they don't. They go for the foul play. I guess they're just not running it. In the back is a Carbink. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Unfortunately, this team was probably never beating a Carbink. Sableye's going to struggle there. Charizard's going to get demolished. And there's no way that Geodude has a good Carbink matchup. It's just never going to happen. So unfortunately, this match is going to be played out for quite some time, but the writing is definitely on the wall in this one. Carbink going to spam out Rock Slides just to pressure away the shield. And once the energy has been thrown onto the Carbink, then the opponent can just look to send in their Sableye. Carbink going to stay in. There's the pivot into the Sableye. The Drain Punch is reached. This Sableye now up to +4 defense. But unfortunately, +4 defense matters a lot less when you are that low on health. Maybe it's not a Drain Punch Sableye. The opponent only ever threw foul plays in that game. Even if it didn't work out, I still love the bait call. What I do not love is the next lead, Shadow Charizard into Emolga. Quick save switch into the Sableye. Sableye reaching for foul play, but unable to get there before Emolga fires off Discharge. Sableye will put up the shield. Emolga pivots out, sending in a Bug Bite Shadow Fortress. I have seen Emolga double Bug Bite before. I don't really know what Emolga is supposed to do in this meta. I understand what the Bug Biters do, but I don't really get what Emolga is doing in this meta and why that would be the lead for this team. Foul play is going to be shielded. Can they get the farm down here? No, they cannot. The Shadow Sableye, it is atrocious IVs, but it hangs on, gets the foul play on damage registration error. And by pressuring that final shield, suddenly things looking pretty good for the Charizard. But the opponent baits with the Sand Tomb. They're going to get the outpace here. Oh, what a play! Getting the catch and sneak onto the Shadow Alolan Geodude. Geodude going to be debuffed with the Rock Tomb. That Volt Switch did take the knockout. The opponent's going to be bringing in a Shadow Araquanid. Araquanid looking for a farm down. They get the farm down, and that is very bad for the Charizard. Araquanid only goes for the Bubble Beam here. They don't build up to the Water Pulse. Bubble Beam will permanently debuff the Charizard. Charizard overfarming massively, firing off the Air Cutter. Air Cutter not going to take the knockout, but it will put them pretty low. Air Cutter lands. There's a pivot into Emolga, but Emolga unable to make a move. They threw all their energy at the Sableye. Debuff Blast Burn picks up the knockout. In comes Araquanid. Charizard gets the farm down. Man, every win with this team has such a high level of difficulty, and that's part of what makes these battles so incredibly fun to watch and so incredibly fun to commentate. We see a very familiar lead in the next match, Shadow Charizard into Feraligatr, but this time the Feraligatr is Shadow. I wonder, due to the Feraligatr being Shadow, if Air Cutter just simply picks up the knockout here. I imagine that is the case, and that means Charizard just will cleanly win the ones. Charizard gets the shield with the Air Cutter, fires off Air Cutter number 2, opponent playing to the CMP tie that they simply cannot win. They're just going to be no shielding and letting themselves get KO'd. In comes Empoleon. Charizard racing to the Blast Burn. That did not look like a CMP tie. I did see the Metal Sound go through. Oh, they call the bait. They get one shot. It's a Shadow Primeape in the back, and it's just an absolute slaughter. In comes Sableye. Sableye just gonna get the full farm down. Who even needs the Alolan Geodude? Shadow Charizard took over that game. And speaking of Charizard, we're gonna have a Charizard mirror in the very next match. But a Shadow Ampharos save switch is a very big problem. This team does not have a good answer to an Ampharos. You can't really bring in the Geodude because Trailblaze would probably pick up the one-hit knockout. I have no concept as to how bulky a Geodude is, but I just assume Geodude is basically going to get knocked out by any charge attack that hits it for super effective. While Sableye was able to boost up its defense with Drain Punch, unfortunately, Ampharos boosted its attack right back with the Trailblaze and dominated the mid-game. In the back, it's double electric and Shadow Magnezone, and unfortunately, this game looks over. Blast Burn gets the shield, but now Geodude has to try and 1v2. And look, I love Geodude, but there's just no way Geodude is pulling this off. Geodude puts up the shield. It's the Mirror Shot bait, and the Mirror Shot gets the attack drop as well. And that should be the nail in the coffin. Rock Tomb is going to be applying a debuff onto the Magnezone. Geodude makes the Rock Slide. There's a catch onto the Charizard. Geodude going for the Zero Bubble here, not wanting to do a whole lot of damage. Charizard is going to get farmed down. Wait. Is this actually possible? If Geodude wins charge attack priority over Magnezone, the impossible has occurred. Geodude loses charge attack priority. You've got to be kidding me. Geodude so close to pulling off the miracle win, but Magnezone wins cap, takes the knockout, and that is a heartbreaking defeat. Great lead in the next match, Charizard into Meowscarada. Opponent safe switches into Shadow Kanto Ninetales, and they very clearly have absolutely nothing for a Charizard. Charizard more than happy to no-shield a Weather Ball, and Charizard goes for the Jugular as it fires off the Blast Burn. Blast Burn would hit for devastating damage. Ninetales survives just to give more farm to the Charizard. What could the opponent possibly have in the back with a Meowscarada Ninetales team? They reveal it's Shadow Camerupt. That is a very cool team. In comes Geodude racing to the Rock Slide, but the Camerupt is preserved and the opponent gets a catch as they bring back in Meowscarada. Rock Slide almost picks up the one-hit KO. What is the attack stat on this Geodude? Clearly, it does not win charge attack priority over Magnezone, but man, that damage output is absolutely nasty. At this point, I think Sableye is just going to be boosting its way through everything in this game. Opponent brings in the Camerupt. Camerupt already up to 80 energy as Charizard will grab away the first shield with Air Cutter. There's the pivot. In comes Sableye, Camerupt at the back-to-back Rock Tombs. But the bad news for Camerupt is the one thing they cannot shield is the fast attack pressure. These Shadow Claws absolutely shredding Camerupt, able to farm up, fire off the Rock Tomb, but it's just too little too late. Camerupt has 3-2-3 pacing, which means they don't get a third move. Sableye farms down, and that's a good game. Picking up a pretty rough lead in the next match, Shadow Charizard into Empoleon. Will Empoleon overfarm? No, they're just going to fire off the Hydro Cannon as soon as they get it. But realistically, nothing on this team really wants to catch a Hydro Cannon either. They're actually going to save the Empoleon, save switch into Sableye, and Charizard is going to go for the Air Cutter bait. Air Cutter bait gets called. Charizard does get the boost, but man, people are not respecting Blast Burns whatsoever. This Air Cutter will be shielded. Charizard farms up, tries for a catch, but is unable to get there. Now the Shadow Sableye is going to be overrun by back-to-back foul plays. Foul play connects. That is huge damage. Opponent already has a second foul play loaded. Sableye is going to be invested in the Final Protect Shield. I'm always a little bit worried about giving up the Final Protect Shield when there's a Shadow Alolan Geodude in the back, but the opponent pivots into Empoleon, and Empoleon will put up the shield. Empoleon trying for a farm down. Is that a CMP tie? Normally Empoleon would win charge attack priority, but the Sableye has like the worst stats I've ever seen, and that lets it win charge attack priority over Empoleon. Empoleon's energy all goes down the drain. Back in comes the Charizard, and suddenly this game is flipped on its head. In the back is Altaria. They're going to take devastating damage from Blast Burn, and then be fully walled off by Geodude. In comes Geodude. Opponent now knows their fate is sealed. They try for a catch. They do not get it. Opponent sees the writing on the wall and concedes the match. I believe this is now the final battle of the video, so let's hope it's a good one. Hey, that's a very strong start. Shadow Charizard into Tinkaton. This is a nightmare matchup. Tinkaton is staying in, so clearly they have something in the back that is not a big fan of energy from the Zard. Charizard farming up, just gonna go straight for the Blast Burn. No baits this time. Blast Burn does get shielded. I thought for a second the Blast Burn landed, but no, they did put up the shield. Charizard shields back, gets it wrong. It's a Bulldoze. In comes Furret. Charizard banks a ton of energy and then sends in Sableye. Nowadays, Furret is running Brick Break over Trailblaze, which means that even though this matchup is normally pretty terrible for Sableye, Sableye should actually be resisting the energy from the Furret. Furret debuffs Sableye's defense just for Sableye to put it right back to normal with the Drain Punch. Can Sableye hang on here? It's going to be very, very close. Brick Break is resisted. This would be a big survive. Sableye hoping to hang on. Sableye survives, 1 HP remaining, making the foul play, and this foul play covers for a potential catch. But no catch comes through. Opponent brings back in the Tinkaton, but the Tinkaton is going to get outpaced by the Charizard. Charizard banked so much energy earlier in the game. Charizard overfarms perfectly, going for the charge attack priority time once again. Blast Burn does get double shielded. Man, those animations always make me think that it landed, but sadly it did not. Tinkaton goes for Gigaton Hammer. They'll probably even go for the Bulldoze here. They try for the Bulldoze, but Charizard, the counts are too precise. That Blast Burn finally takes the knockout. In the back is a Mandibuzz. Oh, this is actually the funniest possible way to end this video. Mandibuzz getting shredded by a Blast Burn just to be answered with the Shadow Alolan Geodude. Shadow Alolan Geodude cannot beat much, but it can beat a low HP Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz goes to the foul play. There's the under tap of the Rock Slide, and that is going to be game over. Man, for a video that had some pretty fun battles throughout, I feel like that was kind of the perfect battle to end it on there, with Mandibuzz getting the 1-2 combination play of Blast Burn followed by Rock Slide, and Alolan Geodude taking the win. Big thank you to Point God for sending in these battles, as these battles were an absolute blast. Shadow Charizard has probably been one of my most fun Pokemon to run this season. It keeps creeping onto teams that I run, and it just completely takes over games. I would argue that all 3 Charizard fast moves are currently viable. For my personal rankings, I would put Wing Attack at number 1, Dragon Breath at number 2, and then Ember down at number 3. But realistically, people could probably use any of the 3 fast moves and have some pretty nice results. And that's because they've spent a lot of move updates trying to bring Charizard back after they ended up gutting it. But for me, Wing Attack is just the clear standout winner. The combination of pacing and fast move pressure from Wing Attack is just incredible. I love its ability to just like straight up beat Shadow Feraligatr, for example. That is what Prime Charizard was able to do. It was just able to beat a lot of the water types. Back in the day, it was Swampert, and if you led Swampert into Charizard, you knew the game was over because the Charizard was just completely running away with the match. So I do really enjoy the fact that Charizard is back. That Shadow Sableye with that insane attacks that ended up paying off as it won charge attack priority over Empoleon. And then I don't know what more can be said about the Shadow Hundo Alolan Geodude. I love seeing players hit Legend and they just like to have fun with it, blow off some steam and say, you know what, win or lose, I'm just trying to have fun in the Go Battle League. And hey, they were able to get a few wins along the way as well. Thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed watching it, please do help support the channel by leaving a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you're watching this video on the day that it releases, then happy Memorial Day. And I do want to give an extra special thank you as always to our channel members here on YouTube. The support you guys provide to the channel is so appreciated. So thank you guys so very much. And until next time, I've been HomeSliceHenry.